All right, we have multiple pressing stories to get to. Stories that include the post-election plan to resist a second Trump term apparently beginning. The anti-Trump movement has activated tens of thousands of people already in massive protests erupting in major cities across the country as prominent left-wing politicians and activists are urging what they're calling a new anti-Trump uprising. Congresswoman AOC issuing a battle cry last night on social media, sending the word out to her 13 plus million followers to resist. All of this happening coincidentally right after President-elect Trump released his plan to officially and permanently eradicate the deep state in Washington, publishing this plan on social media in a video. And this is actually pretty interesting because he's been doing this all day yesterday and today, releasing plan after plan after plan in video format and putting it out on his socials. And it's surprising. He has these detailed plans. Like he's given some serious thought to all of this over the last 4 years. And the crazy thing is, the media hasn't covered any of it. He's going directly to the people, not letting the media corrupt his message. We have it all. And more stories from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So yesterday, immediately after Vice President Harris called Trump to concede the election, Donald Trump went to work, folks. He's not waiting. He's not passing this work off to his team and sitting back listening to his handlers like Biden did, like almost every other president-elect does. He is getting down to business all day yesterday and today so far. He's released video after video on social media, each video including a new promise and plan for what he's doing. And not just broad ideas like we're used to hearing with Trump. These are policy plans with details, with meat on the bone. One of them that's making waves, and I'm going to show you why after, is his plan to permanently eradicate the deep state. Watch this video, and then we'll show what happened just hours after he posted this.
My plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all, and corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemies, which they're doing now at a level that nobody can believe even possible. Third, we will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications. So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption. And there are plenty of them. Fifth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy. When possible, we will press criminal charges. Sixth, we will make every Inspector General's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns against the American people, or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign. Eighth, we will continue the effort launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America, and they really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they deal with these companies and they regulate these companies, and then they want to take jobs from these companies. Doesn't work that way. Such a public display cannot go on, and it's taking place all the time, like with Big Pharma. Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. This is how I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you very much.
That is just one of the videos Trump published yesterday out of like a dozen. He was doing this all day long, and if you're someone who cares about this, who believes that there's these rogue elements in our national security establishment and that there's this permanent bureaucracy that's really running the U.S. government, then this is music to your ears. Now, I've been told RFK and Vivek Ramaswamy helped develop this plan, how to permanently fix this. So after 4 years, if a Democrat wins in 2028, they can't just reverse all of this. Well, moving our intel agency headquarters into the heartland is a great start. Gutting the agencies and basically starting from scratch. He also said putting safeguards into the FISA courts. Now, that's something I doubt he's going to do. He needs to shut down FISA completely, and I'm told he knows this, but I doubt he's going to just say it publicly before being sworn in. FISA is something you don't touch with a 10-foot pole. All of this, these ideas, that video you just watched, is like kicking a hornet's nest. It's dangerous. And he's getting no help from our media, from the Fourth Estate, which is supposed to be there to report on all of this, but they aren't. Remember what Chuck Schumer said 8 years ago when Trump began to realize that the intel agencies aren't on his side, that they're working against him? This is an old clip, but it speaks volumes to what just happened yesterday and what's going to happen going forward. Roll the tape.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
So why is that clip so significant? Because Chuck Schumer is one of the most powerful people in Congress. He was the Senate Majority Leader. He's now the Senate Minority Leader. He's on the Gang of 8, which means he's one of 8 members of Congress who are read into all special access programs, supposed to be read into these TS-SCI clearance type programs, or can be on request for oversight purposes. Basically, he knows far more than almost anyone else in Congress. So for him to say this, for him to be that scared of the intel agencies, it's prescient for what happened the rest of Trump's first term. Well, following this video dropping, following Trump's plan on dismantling the deep state, it was like a bomb went off in D.C. yesterday. Rats began scattering, and suddenly the radical left members of Congress began activating these anti-Trump protests across the country. Not even 24 hours after President-elect Trump won the Electoral College, won the popular vote, won more votes in states like Illinois than in the previous 2 elections combined, far-left protesters began gathering outside the Trump Hotel in Obama's Chicago. Look at these protests. You can't tell me these are organic. These are highly organized and well-planned, thousands and thousands of people with signs and pre-approved protest routes signed off on by City Hall. This is organized resistance. It's been in the works for years. Watch this and then tell me this hasn't been planned for a long time. Roll the tape.
Racist, sexist, anti-gay. Donald Trump, go away. Racist, sexist, anti-gay. Donald Trump, go away.
So it's starting to make sense then why Democrat governors began activating the National Guard last week. They knew this was planned. They knew it was coming. We've been warning about this for weeks, what the post-election strategy will look like. And it's not like there aren't huge swaths of people out there who wouldn't join these protests organically. Once they start, people are going to join. The corporate media and Democrats have been conditioning Americans to believe Trump's a fascist and an authoritarian. Look, if you were an ardent Democrat who watches MSNBC for your news, you're probably scared to death right now. AOC, for example, she went on X yesterday saying the quiet part out loud, delivering her marching orders to her 13 plus million followers on X, saying there are mass movements of people that mobilize to protect one another in times of fascism and authoritarianism. And this is an era that we are now entering. Watch her deliver a battle cry, as she calls it, while being safe and toasty and warm, sitting in her $1 million brownstone last night. Watch this.
We are about to enter a political period that will have consequences for the rest of our lives. We cannot give up. We now find ourselves in a time in history that has precedent, and we find ourselves, I believe, in a time where there are, let's say, peers in history of mass movements of people that mobilize to protect one another in times of fascism and authoritarianism. And this is the era that we are poised to enter. Donald Trump has talked about turning the military on U.S. citizens that he deems his domestic political enemies. Authoritarians and people that he affiliates closely with and strongmen abroad, in regimes like that, it is not uncommon to jail political dissidents or legislative opponents. This is the world that we very realistically may be entering.
Meanwhile, Trump is in Mar-a-Lago working his tail off, putting his plans out that he's been working on for 4 years, putting them out on social media for America to hear, as he knows the media won't let you hear them. Ladies and gentlemen, it's up to us to get the word out. In another story, Arizona has finally been called for Donald Trump. The decision desk calling Arizona for Trump this morning after taking almost 2 full days to count the votes there. Now, most outlets still haven't called Arizona or Nevada, but like we said in yesterday's broadcast, Trump is likely to win them. So the official electoral count as of this moment is 226 for Harris, 295 for Trump. But in the end, it's going to be 312 electoral votes for Donald Trump. As we said yesterday, the popular vote is also still being counted. At present, Kamala Harris received 67.9 million votes to Donald Trump's 72.7 million votes, which means even with California's crazy system where they take weeks to count everything, there's no way for Kamala to catch up. It means Trump has hands down won the popular vote. And if you live in Arizona or California, your states are awful at running elections, just awful. California, they don't want to count the votes, but Arizona, I don't know. There's something wrong in Arizona. Anyone who lives there, you have to demand that your government get their stuff together and fix these problems. Look at Florida. If Florida can count all the votes in 4 hours, every state can do it as well. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.